Well, hello friends. How are y'all doing today? I'm out walking around here at the lake. It's a pretty nice day. It's not too hot yet. It's kind of early in the day. But I wanted to take you guys on this walk with me. Boy, it's getting lush and green around here. It just rained last night. So there's a little muddy here and there too. But I'm going to take you on this walk with me. And while I do that, I think I'd like to talk to you guys about some things that going to be pretty interesting, I think. It always surprises me dogs found him something in the water there. But it always surprises me that so many people think that our Earth is some sort of an anomaly, that the other planets wouldn't have any life on them, that it would just be so amazing if it did. You know, I know a lot of people say, well, why not? Sure. But it's more than that. I mean, it's not just why not. I'm going to show you some reasoning that, I think good reasoning, that would tell us that it's almost probably certain. It would be almost certain that there would be life on other planets and people out there. In fact, there's even some scriptures that would back that up, and we'll get to that in a minute. But I want to use an example here. Let's say that you're walking through the world and you come across this thing called a flower. Beautiful flower, and it's the first one you've ever seen. And I'm trying to get through here, and it's rain, so there's puddles, so I have to go around. But you find this flower and you say, well, let me look at this thing. What is this thing? Oh, well, there's bees pollinating it. There's flies landing on it. It's got some colors. It's beautiful. There's a fragrance. Appears to have roots that pull up the water and minerals from the ground. It appears to suck in the sunshine, because when the sun, if you observe this thing for a while, you notice that when the sun comes out, it grows. And it also needs water to grow. And the darn thing grows. And appears to be food for animals, or nectar for the bees. Anyway, there's lots of things you could observe about this flower. But now remember, this is the only flower you've ever seen. You walk a little further, you say, I'm done examining this flower. That's interesting, we're going to call that a flower. And you walk a little further and you find another flower. Doesn't even have to be the same kind. Maybe this one's purple, the other one was yellow. But you find out that it's also fragrant. A little different fragrance, but it's fragrant. And, you know, there's bees on it, pollinating it, flies, other kinds of aphids and grasshoppers and things jumping around, and you're like, wow, this is the same kind of thing here. I'm going to conclude this one has roots and leaves and everything, just, you know, pulls from the sun, grows. Okay, I'm going to conclude that this thing we discovered yesterday called the flower has a purpose. And the purpose for this flower is to be food, to be a home, to be part of the environment of life. There wouldn't be another reason for flowers. Once you examine several of them and you start looking around and you notice that nature is like that everywhere. There's all kinds of things in the universe, and when you start looking into what these things are, you find out that everything sort of works together for life. And obviously things that grow like flowers serve that purpose that we talked about. So it wouldn't surprise you then if you went to another field and found more flowers, that those flowers would do the same thing, and there would be nature, and there'd be animals flying around and things. So you wouldn't be surprised at all. In fact, you'd expect it, and it would surprise the hell out of you if you went someplace. Maybe, you know, we've never been to Russia, so we go to Russia and we say, wait a minute now, you guys got flowers up here too? And it's like, okay, but your flowers are for, they're not for the same purpose, right? Your flowers are for they're like all plastic, right? And they don't promote life. That would be so strange. In fact, it would be impossible. You know that that couldn't be true, that you'd find some flowers that were dead. How'd they get there if they're dead? You'd have to say, well, if they're dead, then the only explanation is somebody's killed them all. So this is the logic that we would use. So now let's take a look, and you can do that with cats and animals and trees, rocks. All rocks pretty much serve the same purpose. Now let's go, and let's say that we're going around in space on our spaceship, and we don't know anything about this universe. We come across this thing we call a sun, right? We don't know what it is, but let's just say it's a sun. And then we notice that around the sun there's these little balls, like what we call planets. And the third one out from the center is beautiful, and we go in there and we look, and well, there's people on this planet, there's animals running around, there's water, and you notice that there's an ecology, and the water rains when it gets humid, sucks up the rain, puts it in the sky, and it rains down, waters all this ecological system, animals, you know, the whole 9 yards. You study this planet and you understand, okay, I see now what this thing's for. This planet is for life. And by looking at plants and other things, I can determine that everything seems to be consistent. Okay? Now, Christians would come along in their spaceship and say, oh, yes, but that planet's an anomaly. Because you see, there was this bearded man in the sky who created all the universe. Now, he just created all these other planets to look at them from this one Earth. We can just be on this one Earth and we can look out there and we can see all these planets. That's what they're for. They're just lights in the sky. Well, wait a minute. We can't even see all the stars. We can only see like one little small fraction of stars from the planet Earth. The rest of them we can't even see. So what is their purpose? Why did our Father in heaven make them? Why did this bearded man in the sky make this whole universe, and all of the other planets are just dead? How'd they get there if they're dead? Turns out planets are living things. You say, well, they might not have air and water for life up there. Well, guess what? Everything science doesn't tell us this, because I think it would make too much sense and would contradict religion. But everything that exists, once it gets to be a big, huge mass, it begins to have gravity, which I don't believe in gravity. We've talked about that in other videos. I don't understand gravity the way they do. I believe it's a force that is caused from motion, and a vortex swirls and like a tornado, it sucks things in. But let's just, you know, kind of ignore the question of what gravity is. The point is that things appear to be sticking to the Earth. You know, we can stand on the Earth and we don't fly off into the sky. And the reason for that is you've got an periodic table, and there's things called lead, plutonium, gold, tin, iron. These are things that are heavy. That's what we call it, heavy. And then you've got things like oxygen, hydrogen, and helium and so forth. They rise up. It's their very nature to do so. You can't make helium go down to the ground. It's going to go up. It's going to separate from the gold. Just the way it is. So if you find a mass out there in space, are you really seriously imagining that planet is made out of some other kind of rock, that there's no tin or metals on that planet, and that somehow maybe this planet has only metals and tins and dirt and everything, but doesn't have air or water. See, anything that's a mass is going to push all the hard substances into the core, and then it's going to get hot and it's going to start becoming volcanic, and that's going to make steam go out of the tops of the mountains, and the gaseous substances such as oxygen, hydrogen, so forth, helium, is going to be at the top. Now, true, just as we saw with flowers, not every flower is exactly the same color. They don't all look exactly the same, but they serve the same function. They're pretty much the same. And so every planet has to have gotten there by virtue of the fact that there's material out there that through mass, made certain balls of material, and all these materials have to be the basic principles that we have here on Earth with the periodic table, and the hard substances being in the middle and the lighter substances on the outside. And then through evolution, through the energies that go through this Earth, patterns start being created. The patterns grow from the sun, the motions begin to occur, which is what we call life. Things move, you've got equilibrium, you've got just like little magnetic shavings that form these little patterns. There's energies and patterns, and that's the patterns that when you look at the Earth, you see all these beautiful patterns, flowers and trees and grass and stuff. That is just the energies that are on this Earth, and this is the way they naturally form. And they all seem to serve a purpose, an ecological purpose. They are life. This is life. And so there's going to be this same thing on every planet. Now, we don't know for sure if every sun or star has so many planets and the one right around in the middle is the only one that has life. That's possible, just like there might be, when you look at flowers, you notice that the top of the flowers where the petals are, and there's pollen inside the center of it, and that's just the way most flowers are, although some are a little different. So it could be that most all of the star systems have one planet or two. If they're larger suns, they may have 2 or 3 different planets. But the point is it's going to be consistent. The heavier mass is going to go to the center of the planet. The lighter substances are going to go to the top. Now, we've been taught that if you went to Jupiter, it would just be gases and you wouldn't be able to breathe it. Well, there's got to be some hydrogen in the composition of Jupiter or Saturn. There's got to be, molecules that form H2O. There may be less H2O there or more, but that all of these things have to form in some way or another. It's very logical on every planet. And each planet would therefore form some kind of vibrations and some kind of life would occur on every planet. And think about it, here on Earth, we've got life that lives in the water. They still need some sort of oxygen, they need other things, vitamins, minerals, they need everything to survive. They don't just need oxygen, but they do get the oxygen that they need out of the water. Nature, evolution provided gills. Then you've got animals that live on the top of the ground that get air from their lungs. There's beetles and bugs that get air from their skin, just sort of soaks their skin or something, like a sponge. There are beings that live down deep in the earth where they just live inside the dirt. There are little bugs and microbes that live, and they absorb whatever's around them. They live in some sort of different chemical composition than what we humans live in. But life proliferates everything. It grows, it finds a way. So I find it very, 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 very hard to believe that all these millions of zillions and trillions of planets that we know of in the universe could possibly all be dead. Just flying around out there for no purpose. In fact, I say to you, I postulate that's impossible. That you would be incredulous to say that, and it's ridiculous, and it isn't even worth, that theory isn't even worth considering. The only possibility is that the planets have a purpose, just like every flower and every sun thing in the universe. The purpose for it is life. So I'm absolutely certain that there are many, many inhabitable worlds. And then the Bible says, in my Father's house, which our Father dwells in the whole universe, according to the Bible. He's in all, through all, and above all, and everywhere. Heaven, hell, and earth, he's there. It says it in the Bible. And it says if I were to take the wings of an eagle and fly off into, you know, the yonder heavens, there you'd be. If I were in the depths of the sea, your hand would lead me. So God's everywhere, and the universe is his house. But Jesus said, in my Father's house there are many mansions, many abodes, many places to live. And I'm going to go away, and I'm going to come back again. He left the earth, went to someplace where he could dwell. The Bible also says that the stars are where angels live. It says that the stars clapped their hands for joy, and all the sons of God shouted for joy. Okay, the sons of God, what are they? Are they really stars? Is that the sons of God, or is it saying that they live out there? Obviously, they live out there, just like we live on a star. And you say, well, those are spirits. Those are angels. We don't know what those are. No, we do know what those are. We know what angels are. The angels met Abraham, and they had meal with him. And when they went to Sodom and Gomorrah, the people of the town wanted to have sex with him. These were humans. Then it says they came to the earth and had relations with the daughters of men. They became the Anunnaki from the planet Nibiru. So now we know from the Bible itself that there are eating, breathing creatures, humans, human-type people that can mate with humans, that from other planets that came to this world. And we know in the Sumerian tablets it describes all the planets and what they look like, their size, their colors. It talks about the asteroid belt, their ships, the planet Nibiru. This is confirmed. There are people on other planets, and Christians better stop burying their head in the sand. Human beings are only a part of the whole. And we're a very important part, because it says that we shall judge angels. And our Father has got a very important purpose for human beings. We're the children of the living God, just as I'm sure many other beings throughout the universe are. But he loves us very much, and it's a big universe out there, and there's just so many reasons that if you really stop and think about it, there's so many reasons why you can just see the truth staring at you in the face, but then you realize that we've just been so lied to, so deceived, that we can't even think straight anymore. So anyway, I wanted to just run that by you guys, and I'm hoping everybody's having a wonderful day. I'd just like to say that maybe we should, you know, think about one another. One of the videos I've done recently is about getting together and being helping one another, and not to forsake the gathering of ourselves together and getting to know one another and talking to each other and making sure we all have what we need. Let's continue doing that. Let's pray for each other. Let's communicate with one another. And some of you people in the text down below in the information box and the message box, you're talking back and forth and stuff. Let's keep our messages to one another in a spirit of love and helpfulness. And we're not all going to agree on every little thing, but we all agree that our Father in heaven is love. I think we can all agree on that. And he would want us to be brothers and sisters and to love one another. So let's try to do that. Let's pray for one another. Let's go and help one another if we can. And yeah, let's do that. So I'm going to go ahead and go. And there's Bear. There's a big old bunch of birds out there at the lake. It's a beautiful day. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a good